Hello and welcome to the UKEdChat After Hours webinar. I'm Martin. You can find out more about me on Twitter, on my Twitter handle, which is ICTMagic. And welcome to this webinar. We're doing something slightly different this week. We're going to go through some of the Twitter responses we had with the chat, which was all about play and educational toys. And hopefully you can join along. So all of the tweets that we are talking about during this webinar are on the show notes, and you can find the show notes link wherever you find this video. So on the screen at the moment, there are the questions here. So it was all about play and toys, and the vast majority of the chat was about play itself and how play can be used as a constructive part of the classroom experience and how to use play. It is that it is the route that they're able to develop skills, and many chatters commented that this is a good way to develop language skills and social skills, which was a fascinating discussion. And there were many different points of view. It was interesting to see there was quite a convergence between the. So he pointed out that learning through play isn't just exclusive to humans, it is very much part of the animal kingdom as well. So the idea that you are able to play with ideas and situations and social situations specifically to be able to practice and experiment, and the idea of prototyping particular items, but also prototyping a social situation as well. And many chatters brought up this similar point that it is interesting to use for practicing social situations. The second question was thought on these lines, and other chatters thought that it was appropriate to halt play at certain times when it wasn't appropriate within the classroom. And there was quite a division there between different chatters about that particular topic. The next one from Maxim, he was talking about how, again, play is used to develop lots of different skills, and it seems to be a real focus on the social side of things when it comes to play. So yes, we learn about taking turns, but taking turns is an integral part of communication as well. So if we were to interrupt each other at every possible point, then obviously communication would be that much more difficult. So the idea of taking turns isn't just for within games and playing games. It's also very important to, as Maxim says here, to collaborate and share as well, but on the language side of things as well, which is really quite important. The next tweet is a nice little tick list on the same question. So the idea of why play is useful within the classroom. So it's fun, it encourages collaboration, and you can obviously read the rest there. The strategic thinking was quite an interesting idea, because we often think of play as something which is very unstructured, but the idea of thinking ahead towards a particular goal is quite an important part of many games. And obviously for something like a computer game, it's very important. The idea you have to think strategically as a route through that particular game, it's really quite important for that. And the next tweet from Diane was all about the fact that play is obviously a very fun thing to do, and that's obviously encouraging. But she says that it's also better for retaining things that we're learning as well. So it's not just the fact that you're enjoying yourself at that particular time, it is actually better. It'll be interesting to see if anybody's got any research to show that, but that would be quite an interesting point. Right, this is the tweet from David Chalk, and he made an interesting point about using games in a structured way within the classroom. So even though it is playful, it is important to have those particular structures in place So the fact that everybody is playing the game to the same level, and obviously we need to make sure that particular games, when they are used within the classroom, are fair, and knowing that everybody is using the same set of rules is quite important, and something which the teacher needs to be very on top of when they're explaining a new game. And hopefully if they've got lots of games within their repertoire, they can then make those much more concrete within the classroom. So question 5 was about where's the best place for play to happen in an educational context. And I just thought this was a brilliant idea from David here, which was not just to play, but for everything. So where would this learning happen best? Fantastic question, and probably one that we don't ask often enough. And even though many teachers do move out of the classroom to different points within the school, perhaps there are other constraints which keep us very much classroom based, and that's probably something we need to probably think about more as a whole profession, about how we could adapt the educational environment a bit more. Just waiting for this tweet to load. So this is another one from David Chalk. And that doesn't seem to be working. I believe it was something along the lines of it was talking about toys in the past, and it seemed to be that pretty much every answer to the next 3 questions within the chat was Lego, and this was the first one. So the question was about what kind of toys did you play when you were young? Well, Lego seemed to be a firm favourite. A couple of other items came up. So space hoppers was another one, and Airfix was an interesting point which many people made. Let's move on to the next tweet, see if that one loads instead. And again, as I said, Lego was pretty much the answer for the next couple of questions anyway, and rightly so. Yeah, and that's just backing up the same thing. So David here was just basically saying Lego yet again. Yeah, so Gemma was talking about the fact that this was in answer to the last question about should teachers engage in play themselves, and Gemma was just saying the fact that actually being able to play with Lego within a CPD session would actually be a wonderful idea for her own well-being, and I think we can all agree with that. Okay, and the very last tweet. So just a really interesting point about the fact that understanding does require being playful with ideas, and the idea of always being focused on a particular problem isn't necessarily the right way to go, because sometimes a wandering mind is actually going to get towards the goal in maybe a less direct route, but it will get there maybe even more efficiently, or maybe not. It depends, but obviously different strategies are a good idea for many different ways of thinking. Right, that is it for the tweets. Just to let you know that if you enjoy what UKEdChat does, then you can support UKEdChat on Patreon. So if you go to Patreon, which is patreon.com/UKEdChat, then there are lots of goodies on there for you if you support UKEdChat. But for now, that's it from me, and I hope you've enjoyed this very quick stroll through the tweets, and we will see you next week.